Let's move on to the second part of this segment, and that's the spotlight. And so we continue now with CES, Consumer Electronics Show. John, do you have a little toy you're taking to CES to demo out there? What you
No,
got?
never been to CES. Don't. It's not something I'm interested in. I follow it very closely, but I don't think I'd ever go there.
Yeah, so CES, as the history goes back, it was mainly, hey, what kind of a new gadget you got, something to chop the tomato or chop the onion, whatever the case may be. And so we've seen CES evolve over the years, and now prominent companies, fun companies, everyone tries to show what's coming on during CES. And so it's just a very great place. Sometimes these things are concepts that never come to fruition, but at least they showcase those concepts in there. And sometimes, a lot of the times, I will say, these devices that are shown, come out sometime in the year and sometimes not till the following year. So CES is such a great place to be for companies, and everything goes. It's what I call the kitchen sink here, because everything goes into CES. John, you want to get us started with some of the things that you like that are being showcased or were showcased at CES 2023?
Have they got a teleportation device yet? Because if they had that and I could just go that, like, I'm there, and then afterwards I'm home again, that'd be cool. I could go then, but I bet there isn't.
Someone should think of that, tech. And then I'll be eating dinner at Fee's house and come back home.
Yeah.
Because at least dinner time at your house, Fee, is still early in the morning, my time, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I make very good coffee, though. I'm not a very good cook, but I make very good coffee.
Well, you can have coffee at Fee's, and you can have lunch here and dinner.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Exactly. So I'll have breakfast at Fee's and have dinners at Miriam's. How about that?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Maybe
John,
that should be the next Blind Shell Classic feature, teleportation.
Oh, my goodness. So, John, are you teleporting to CES? Tell us what you like about CES this year so far.
I think the things that have intrigued me are the satellite connectivity and the flagship Qualcomm chips coming out this year. And the, well, we can just talk about that first, because, the big deal about that is, Apple made a big deal about, if you're out in the middle of nowhere and you don't have cell phone connectivity, the iPhone 14 can use satellites to help you send a text message to 911, like an SOS message. If you're like lost and you need help, it'll send your coordinates and a message to the closest 911 center. But this new Qualcomm chip coming out is going to have actual, like, full texting capabilities, where you can be in control of who you text, and you can send and receive text messages anywhere, because as long as you have access to the sky. So it doesn't matter whether you have cell coverage or not. So I think this is kind of Android taking it a one step further than what Apple has done.
You can even send pictures of you to your friends. So that is a really good bandwidth of satellite communication.
But obviously not when you're underground. That's the only place that wouldn't work, isn't it? Because obviously you don't have the sky.
Yep.
So who's going to be using these chips? Do we know yet?
It sounds like a Motorola with their Moto Defy might be the first one to take a crack at this technology. And so I think maybe sometime this year or maybe next year, a lot of phones will have that, especially those that are using the Qualcomm ones. And I hope, I don't know, because I'm a Pixel guy, and Google, you better be cooking something. Because I like to see that on my phone and not having to jump ship and go into some other place, say, hey, move back to Samsung or move to Realme, some of those phones that use the Qualcomm chip. So I hope somehow that Google will do something about this, because it's a very important thing, most especially the fact that, one could even use it with some apps and things like that. It's just a good start.
It ought to be Samsung, really, because that's, the satellites, they'll be part of the galaxy, won't they?
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
It is part of the galaxy. Yeah.
You see, yeah. You see, Ed's not here to make the terrible jokes, so I'm just,
and so
just trying to fill in for that.
I think the company that is partnering with Qualcomm, I think it's Raytheon. I'm trying to remember the name of the company, is giving them this technology or partnership. And so we're having a good thing here. And I hope that a lot of phones, manufacturers would use that technology, because, you're in the middle of Montana or Wyoming, and I've been to those places, and you literally have nothing. Even here in the state of Washington, when I go east of here to the Palouse, I don't have any connectivity whatsoever. So it's one of those things that might come in handy. Next, let's talk about some other things that are there at CES. Like I said, there's so many of them. I think this year, though, lots of laptops and things like that, including Motorola, of course, doing all kinds of stuff with some tablets that they have. The 14.5-inch, we thought that the Samsung 14-inch was the biggest ever. And now Motorola wants to take the crown with that new tablet of theirs. And that thing is like $1,200? Gosh, that's so expensive for a tablet, isn't it?
Yeah.
My goodness. Would you be buying that to demo that, unbox that for the podcast, Austin?
No, I would not. So
No.
to summarize CES, there was a lot of Wi-Fi 7 announcements, 8K TVs, but I like two things of CES. The one was the Motorola Think phone, and one was, which is really going to be a concept, I think, the wireless TV. This is going to be a really concept TV, because it runs on battery. Yes. It runs on battery. The battery has a validity of 1 day. And I don't know, those using Tata Play or Tata Sky, the Sky boxes, I don't know how they're going to watch wireless TV. I think this will be used only if you go for traveling, or if you're running for a camping trip or something, you can watch it using your internet.
Yeah, I saw that one as well. I think it was from LG. I was really excited about it because I travel a lot, and I think it's such an amazing intervention.
This is not from LG. It's from a startup called Display or something like that. Yeah, it's a 55-inch device that you can mount anywhere in your house or on any surface. It has some powerful suction thing that you just, so it eliminates anything wire. But, you can stack them. So you could have two of them. It gives you a 110 inch if you want, and things like that. But the whole idea here is that it's wireless, no power needed, because the battery lasts for a long time. So I can see this as a win-win thing if it really comes into market, but it's kind of a little bit expensive. I think it's like $2,500 or maybe whatever. But then when you compare that to the Samsung whatever, it's like $15,000 for that 100-inch whatever. So really, I think we're going to see a lot of evolutions, the next few months to next couple of years. We're going to be in for a good trade here. And yes, Miriam, LG has their own too, but the one that Austin's talking about is this new startup. I think they're like 4 or 6 people in this company. Yeah, very interesting.
Yeah.
A small TV would be good though, because you could then, like Miriam said, you could travel with it. I mean, for me, I find that a lot of TVs are very big now, and I live in quite a small flat apartment, you'd probably call it, and my TV is an older one, so it's quite small, and then I've just got the Chromecast, the one with the remote. But if I could get a nice newer smart TV, I'd love to. But at the moment, they're all like 40-inch or more. Where am I going to put that? There's no catering for those of us who want a smaller TV, because I'd love a smaller TV that ran on Android. That'd be amazing.
And I think another thing, though, I don't know how accessible these things are going to be. Of course, we're always an afterthought. And another concern that I may have is, let's say you want to connect one of your peripherals to your TV. I wonder, maybe they'll have some wireless connectivity, like it has a hub that you can hook up your Xboxes or your, I just got the kids something, PS, whatever.
PlayStation.
PS5?
Yeah, PS, and then there's the Nintendo Switch. So Christmas was absolutely a beautiful thing here. A new Xbox, because the one that we had, was from a while ago. So we decided to get one of those new ones, as well as the PS, whatever, and the Nintendo Switch. They've been bugging me about those things like no man's business. So I can see, how do we connect this thing to this thing that doesn't have any wires? Maybe they'll have a hub.
Another concern that I have is mounting these TVs using suction cups. So if you live in an area where your temperature changes frequently, like 40 degrees Celsius to like 20 degrees Celsius, then the suction gets weak, and then down falls your 55-inch TV from the wall.
Mm-hmm.
But they have talked about the fact that they've, tested in situations like with something huge hit the house or an earthquake, whatever, and the thing stays on. So I think they kind of look into these things, because it's not only something that's going to be in like temperate regions. You could have it in the tropics or wherever. So I think those guys do their homework, but it's a good concern. But I don't think that the inside of your house is going to be that hot to actually melt off something. And if your house is that hot, you better turn on the air conditioner,
Mm-hmm. So Austin just mentioned it in passing, but something I found interesting, I'm curious about, is the Motorola Think phone, because it supposedly has like a dedicated button for, now it uses Microsoft Teams, but I think what they're trying to implement is, like, if you remember back in the Sprint days, it might even going back to the Nextel days, where you used to have push to talk phones. Do anybody remember that, or like walkie-talkie type thing?
Exactly.
I think that's what Motorola is trying to emulate here. So I'm curious to see how that works.
They do have that push to talk, and of course, like you indicated, it uses the Microsoft Teams for that capability. But the whole idea about it is the seamless doing things with your computer. So if you like your ThinkPad, you're going to like this Think phone, and the whole focus is on productivity. We'll see how the customer react to it and whether people are going to like it or not. But I think it may be a breakthrough for Motorola.
I think they are building a Think ecosystem.
Mm-hmm. Well, they've already built it. They're just adding the phone to it. So it's kind of aimed as like a business phone.
Exactly. And I was kind of thinking, hey, was LG thinking of the Think when they had the thin Q, but put a Q instead of a K? They didn't want to infringe on
exactly.
Motorola's or Lenovo's Think, with a K. So I'm like, well, maybe LG was into something. And frankly, to be honest, LG was very innovative with some of its things, and but it's unfortunate things didn't turn out right for them.
With things with funny names, slightly off topic, but whatever happened to the Nothing phone?
Because it's a nothing.
Because we talked about it once.
The Nothing 2 is coming by April.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And they're thinking of bringing it to some, places in the US, very few, though. We'll see what happens. The Nothing phone, created quite a stir, but then it kind of like it like fizzles out, or I don't know.
It created a
what's going
stir
on.
for about 5 minutes.
Yeah, a little Chinese stir fry there that it brought. But then, of course, after you eat the Chinese food, you kind of want to go back. It's like, hey, I'm hungry again. It's one of the things we talk about with my family. We were there and I ate a lot. I'm like, but wait, by the time I get back into the car, I want to come back in again. So the thing, nothing fun.
Is the Nothing phone the one with the clear back and all those LEDs on it, or am I confusing that with something else?
That's the Christmas tree we talked about.
No,
yeah.
That's something else.
Yeah.
I think Oppo and Poco is launching another one like that.
Oh yeah, but because we were talking about all those new phones with the LEDs on them. That's the episode. Yeah.
Yeah, and so we dubbed that Nothing phone the Christmas tree phone. But you have to, like Fee said, you got to put it upside down, put the face of the phone on the table, and have the back up so you can see that Christmas tree. So nothing is really nothing. It's a good thing. So Nokia has a couple phones, the G100 and G400. Now, what I don't like about it, however, is that Nokia, keeps using these older chips. For example, the Snapdragon 662 for G100 and the 480 for the G400. Now, one of them is $130. That's the G100. And then the other one is about $170. So if you are someone who likes your Nokia phones, maybe that's something to look forward to. And maybe John may unbox it, or I may get one to unbox it. John, have you ever tried a Nokia phone, the newer ones?
No. The last time I had a Nokia phone, it was a Windows phone. So that's how long it's been for me.
I got to try those new ones. But I got to try those new ones from Nokia. And I honestly didn't like them because, as you said, when they use like those yesterday chips, I was setting up someone's phone for them. It was a Nokia. I can't remember what model it was particularly, but it was so sluggish. Like for this to have like Android 13 or 12 or whatever on a old chip where you can pay pretty much the same price for a mid-range phone and you can have a better chip, a better processor. And it was so sluggish. I don't know. I don't know why they do that. Like, you have this price and you don't use good chips. It's just crazy. I don't get it, to be honest.
In reality, Nokia phones, I like you, Nokia, don't get me wrong, but I think they're overpriced for what they are. But then they have a clean UI. So I give that to them. And then, of course, updatability is questionable, and looks like they're kind of trying to update their phones now. So we'll see how that is. But if you're a fan of Nokia, we're not abusing your Nokia phone, but just letting you know you could have something out there you want to play with.
Well, was it Nokia that had that weird thing where you could buy the phone and then give it back, or some strange? Or was that somebody else?
Oh yeah, we talked about that in one of our podcasts. It was I don't remember the term now, but yes, I remember we talked about that here, extensively. Does anyone remember what that was?
Yeah,
Austin?
I don't remember what it was called, but it was. Yep. They were just trying to replace basically what the carrier is already doing to you, like letting you pay for a phone over time and then making you trade it in for a new one. So they're basically just stepping in to just deal with you directly rather than having you go through the carrier. They were
talking about planting a tree for you when you get a phone or something. It's just...
That's it.
Yeah. You could just plant one. Like, you could just... yeah.
Before we close this segment, though, how about we talk a little bit about Google? Google showed up there at CES as well. And John, you want to take a crack at some of the things that Google showed?
Sure. So one of the things they were introducing, which I honestly didn't pay too much attention to, was their Android Auto updates and Android Automotive, which are actually two separate things. Android Automotive is like when the whole car basically runs on Android, and Android Auto is when you can connect your phone to the display of the car and it still uses your phone for everything. But so I didn't follow that too closely. They also announced something called I don't know what it's called, but it's basically if you're listening to something on a Bluetooth device like music and you get closer to a different Bluetooth device, they'll give you a notification that you can just tap if you want to change Bluetooth devices really quick, which I guess is cool, but I feel like it would annoy me more than anything else. But that's something they announced as I don't remember what they called it, but
it's called the tap to move.
Okay.
Yeah.
But presumably you could turn that on and off, no?
Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah. So the whole idea makes sense, though. So, I'm coming back from work, or I'm coming back from, walking, and I'm listening to something on my headset. And I get into the house, and I could move that thing to any of my devices if I want to put my headset away. So it totally makes sense. But, talking about that automotive now, what they're saying is that they have now 7 partners, manufacturers, car manufacturers that are part of the Google Android Automotive. One of the things that is nice here also is something that we talked about, and most especially, John, when you did your tip of the week on how to separate sounds on Android on Samsung devices. And so Google is taking a crack of that if you have an Android 13, and they're working with Spotify, so you could use that separate sounds and be able to play that music on a different device without it. I think it's good for those of us who are screen reader users. So if I want to be able to still hear my screen reader on my phone and not going alongside with the audio that's playing on that device, I think it's a good thing. And so I think for the time being, it's only Spotify and YouTube Music that are being supported, but it's a good step. I think we'll soon see that system-wide capability of separating sounds.
And you can already do that on Spotify because it's got a connect to device thing in the app. You've been able to do that for quite a while.
You can technically do that in any app as long as you cast from the app. But if you connect to a Bluetooth speaker, this is different. I actually didn't hear that announcement, so that's interesting. If
I see. Yes, because actually that's not Bluetooth. So that's a Bluetooth thing.
Yeah, that's over Wi-Fi. Like you can use YouTube Music, or if you have like a radio app that supports casting on TV or whatever.
Yeah, but if you've got, I see. So this is if you've got a Bluetooth speaker rather than a Wi-Fi one.
Exactly.
Yes,
that's what it is. Yeah. Because right
that's
now,
quite good.
If I send my Bluetooth to my speaker, I'll be hearing my talkback on there too.
Yes,
so
and that's
that
annoying.
will help that, just like John demonstrated with the Samsung one. So I'm liking what I'm hearing. I hope it comes soon. And then there's, I think there was something that also was mentioned there in the Google stuff, is that the fall detection. Yeah, the fall detection was only on Pixel phones. Now I think Xiaomi, and I can't remember who the second manufacturer is, they're also going to be getting that feature.
So the phone can detect if you fall over. Is that the idea?
Yeah, so a crash detection, maybe you're in a crash or whatever, something happens. It will let you know, are you still there, or else it'll just call emergency for you. So
you've been to the pub and had too many drinks.
Exactly.
Fallen down the stairs.
Exactly. So so many things going on at CES that we couldn't possibly talk about, but it's one of those highlights.
I think John wanted to talk about something to do with wireless, though, didn't you? Wi-Fi.
Oh yeah. So the PWA Power, or Wireless Power Consortium, WPC, I guess. They announced Qi 2, which is a new standard. They say it's based on Apple's magsafe technology because it uses magnets to align the phone or device correctly during the charging.
It's for charge. Oh, so it's not Wi-Fi. It's a charging thing. And that'd be
It's a
exciting.
new wireless charging standard. So I don't know that it's going to mean that Android phones will work with MagSafe chargers. I would be surprised if that's the case, but
No, it's
they're
probably similar, but
they're
not.
yeah, but it is going to be nice to have magnetic chargers because so many times I think my phone's aligned and I'll
It
go
isn't.
to get it and it's charged, but it's like really hot, like it's been charging more than it should.
Oh, I
Something like
hate that. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
so
annoying. That'd be really
have,
good then.
yeah, so having the magnet to make sure it's aligned, you're getting an efficient charge and it's, not constantly connecting and disconnecting. That's not good for
So
your battery. So
would it be backward compatible, do you think? Or would you have to?
yes,
Yes. Oh, that'd be good.
it is. So if you have a phone has wireless charging, you could use this charger. You just still have to align it yourself. But if your phone has the magnet in it, it'll align it for you.
But presumably most of our phones won't have that yet, will they?
No, they're supposed to. They said late this year, the end of 2023 is when phones will start to be released with that technology.
You sort of wonder why they haven't done that already in some ways, really. I mean, when I had a few years ago my Samsung watch that's now, no good anymore because every time you turn it on, it heats up and nearly burns your wrist. So that's not as dangerous. And it was so old, it wasn't worth getting it fixed. But when I used to use that and charge it up, it was a magnetic thing, to stick to the charger. So I don't know why.
I think the reason it hasn't come to
phones.
phones, is because wireless charging hasn't been that fast. Now they're getting it up to 15 watts, which is actually a decent charging speed. So with smaller devices, with smaller batteries, you don't really notice how slow it's charging. Like it's charging slow, but the battery is so small that you could still get it charged in a couple hours. So, I think that's why it hasn't been like as mainstream. I mean, there have been accessories that you can buy with magnets that sort of align your phone for you and stuff like that, but no official standard that everybody can, develop accessories for.
It's good that they've done that now. Or they will be doing it. I got a new power bank a couple of months ago that I think I mentioned on here when it was the Black Friday deals on Amazon, and it's not magnetic, but it does charge at 15 watts, it says. So it's got 3 USB ports and a USB-C one and like a circular bit, so you could, and that's where the wireless charging bit is, inside that circular bit. And then that's made of something like silicon, so it's not so slippy for the phone to fall around the place. So yeah, they are definitely, they're getting faster, aren't they? Which is good news as well, because it's so much more convenient than messing around with cables and stuff.